Good day. Hey, I'm Chinny G, and this is Never Tap MMA News and Weekly Recap, Episode 1. Good to see you guys. What are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to actually talk about a few different things. We're going to talk about UFC Athlete Retreat, which had some exciting moments in it. But first of all, we're going to bounce back here. And now there's going to be an interim middleweight title fight between Yo Romero and Whitaker, Robert Whitaker. Interesting that they would choose an interim title. Bisping hasn't been out of action that long. It'll be a year in October, I believe. Very interesting that they would choose to have an interim title. I mean, it's a #1 contender fight. We all know that. I personally have issue with the interim titles. I think for the most part they're a joke unless you're coming across a situation like I think they're a joke. There's no situation I can really think that it's a good idea. But anyway, I am very interested to see the result of this. Whitaker is no joke, and as we know, Romero is no joke. Both very good at what they do. Romero, I think Whitaker's on the uprise, but I think right now Romero's just in that zone, man. He's just in that place. Like him or not, the guy is a true beast, and it's going to be an interesting fight. Whitaker has great footwork. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to this fight. Not so much as an interim title fight, but to decide who the clear #1 contender is for sure. With that being said, the guy's really got to wonder how Bisping feels about this. Him and of course GSP were scheduled to fight at some point in time. The UFC would have preferred it in July. GSP from the get-go said he wouldn't be ready for July. Bisping would have been ready for July, but now he's not ready for July. It's very interesting. I don't think Bisping really wants to step up against Romero. I think Whitaker would have been a fight he would have taken for July, regardless of injury or whatever. Who knows if he's really injured? I don't. Only he knows that, and his medical staff and coaching staff. Now, in regards to GSP, it's really hard. I'm finding it, as a Canadian, very hard to take GSP seriously anymore. For the last 3 years, he's been teasing to come back and blah, blah, blah. He's had Freddie Roach speak up for him. It's interesting, but I gotta tell you, I can't take GSP seriously. I can't take him at face value today, and hopefully he can prove me wrong and come back and fight. But now it'll be a fight against a guy like Woodley, which I'm not sure he wants. But I think he can beat Woodley. I really do. Hopefully GSP can get himself together and actually commit to a fight on paper for a certain date, whatever that day may be. Hopefully it's before the end of the year. But I guess we're gonna play the waiting game, and we're gonna see what happens with that. That being said, let's move on to the retreat, the UFC Athlete Retreat, which of course saw Chris Cyborg and Angela Nagana get into a little bit of altercation, which resulted in Chris Cyborg popping her in the mouth. Now, we all know that it's not right just to up and up, hit somebody, and I'm sure that's not what happened. We haven't really got good footage of how that transpired, and I'm sure they're saving that for court should it hit a court case. I don't believe it will. But the bottom line is this. Back in my day, I'm a little older than a lot of folks, back in my day, if you mouthed off, regardless, if you mouthed off, there was a price to pay. You either stood up and backed up your mouth, or you didn't mouth off because someone was going to pop you. And that's what happened to Angela Nagana. Magana, yeah, what a weird name. Now, I don't know a lot about Magana. I know she went on a social media blitz attacking Cyborg, the way she looks and whatnot. And, you know, it's internet bullying, plain and simple. And I'm not going to go out and I'm not going to demean Angela Magana. And I'll tell you why. Because I've seen the posts, I've seen the reaction. Internet bullying is wrong, but what I see happening is people are bullying Angela Megan on the internet. Maybe it tastes their own medicine. I'm not going to do that. I haven't done that. I would like to see a resolution to this because I don't think internet bullying is proper, and I think if there's going to be any kind of sanctions against anybody, we should see some come down against Angela Magana as well from the UFC for instigating the whole situation. It could have been circumvented. When an athlete goes to a children's hospital to help brighten up their day, this was a cancer ward, and Chris's dad, I understand, is battling cancer right now as well, and you start mocking that person for doing that, there's something not right with the way you perceive things and think you can go against people like that and think that you're going to get off scot-free. There is a price to pay for everything. So if you're going to be caught, be prepared to get popped, man. You're going to get it. Someone's going to give it to you sooner or later. And also, Reebok. This cracked me up a little bit. Reebok is, as part of the UFC Athlete Retreat, Reebok is excited to offer UFC Athletes a special one-time discount, 50% off, valid at Reebok.com. One time, eh? Okay, the problem with this is that most of the athletes, actually let's be honest, all the athletes except for the ones that Reebok sponsors outright took a beating when this deal came in. On the lower end, what was it, Rory McDonald said $80,000 hit for him on the lower end, and for other athletes it was much more, into the hundreds of thousands of dollars hit when the Reebok deal came in. And to offer them 50% off of Reebok gear, no, you should be giving them a 100% discount to a point, and sending them swag monthly as far as I'm concerned. Reebok's marketing team needs a revamping because they clearly don't know what they're doing in regards to the UFC and marketing these elite level athletes. With that being said, boo Reebok. And Raging Cajun Johnson actually got into it with the Reebok reps and Anheuser-Busch rep. Both talking down to the athletes and saying they want winners and blah blah blah, and if you lose a fight, the Bush rep, Anheuser-Busch rep said that they would drop you if you lose, they only want winners, blah blah blah, and Cajun Johnson finally erupted and gave him a piece of his mind, which resulted in a dialogue between the two, and Leslie Smith also jumped in there and with the dialogue. And the UFC actually called a meeting with the athletes later on that day, and they had a sit-down discussion where people were able to air their grievances, and maybe something will happen with this, maybe something will come out of it. If not, at least things are being said and dialogue has begun, and hopefully things will build up from that, and athletes can get a better deal. With that being said, Cajun Johnson, you are the man. You put yourself on the line, and you're very clear. You don't care if you're a sacrificial goat or not. You will stand up for your fellow fighters. You are the man. Hats off. Respect to you, my friend. And then let's move on to Miocic. Francis Ngannou on Miocic said, "I was not impressed. I need more than that." Okay. Ngannou is a good athlete, very good. How he's ranked number 5 in the division is beyond me at this point. I don't see where he's actually earned that in the UFC. But whatever, you know, it is what it is. We all know that the UFC has its favorites. and they're going to play that up as much as they can to build up this athlete. I'm not saying he's not talented, but let's be fair. He's only been in in MMA for 4 years competing. Picked it up 4 years ago, actually, and I think he needs to face some top 5 fighters and find out what the gig is, because he may be in for a rude awakening. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. But we'll see. I think Miocic would be more than a handful for Francis, and I also think that this just plays into, we see how shallow the UFC heavyweight division has become. And there are fighters out there. We got guys like former World Series of Fighting heavyweight title holder Shmilino the Prince Rama, who could easily, in my opinion, compete at the UFC level in heavyweight and fare quite well. He's young, not yet entering his prime. He's fast, he's athletic. He may not have the sculpted build of Ngannou, but make no mistake, man, this guy can get the job done, and I would love to see him in the UFC with his brother David Branch, who we see make a successful USA debut just recently here. And I think, I mean, there are other fighters out there, and but let's face it, Rama's a never tap fighter, so I'm gonna put him forward there, and I'm gonna say this is a kid that can get the job done. And a lot of other things going on too. We've got the TJ Dillashaw, Cody Garbrandt fight is now off the table. Garbrandt having a back injury apparently, and it's in the wind that the UFC would like to have Dillashaw fight Demetrius Johnson for his title. Now the question begs to differ: will Demetrius Johnson go for this? Because we know he's a pretty level-headed guy, and he plays things right. And of course, there's also the question that needs to be answered on whether Dillashaw can actually make the 115-pound weight limit. I'm not sure that he can get that low. Or is it 125? Either way, I'm not sure he can make that weight, and it'd be a shame to put all the money into promoting the fight just to see it not transpire. And of course, just today, Johnson said that Ray Ward would be getting the title fight. He's earned it, and he plays fair, and I like that about him. And again, I think DJ's made it very clear that to step out of his comfort zone, he's going to need to get paid. And fair play, I agree with him. One more fight and he will be unquestionably the UFC, and I'm going to say UFC pound-for-pound GOAT in his division. He already is, in my opinion. I mean, in the UFC period, and the guy's amazing. With that being said, my friends, we're going to cut it short here. There's other things I got to get to, but man, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you again soon. Peace, my friends. Be good to one another.